April 17th is used to mark Palestinian Prisoners' Day, right? Because there are many of them who are languishing in Israeli prisons. And I just, I put some notes together. I thought I'd read to you just to put into perspective, what these guys go through, because the treatment is so horrific and inhumane. I mean, the reality that these people are exposed to on a daily basis, it's really the worst kind of torture. So just some background info. I mean, this day, April 17th, was chosen as Palestinian Prisoners' Day because it's the day that Mahmoud Bakr Hijazi, he was the first Palestinian to be freed in a prisoner swap with the Israelis, right? So in total, right now, you have around 4,000 Palestinians who are in Israeli prisoners, right? It's somewhere between 4,000 and 5,000, right? So among them, 31 are women, 160 are children. One of those is a girl. And if you look at the status, 1,000 of these prisoners are held under Israeli administrative detention. Now, it isn't technically Israeli because this is actually a law that was left over from the British mandate in Palestine, of course, right? Not a very nice legacy. What administrative detention is, and again, pay attention because you're not going to believe this. Palestinians are arrested and they are not even allowed to know what they are being charged with. They are kept for 6 months at a time, and this can be renewed forever, indefinitely. So you have people in Palestine, Palestinians, who have been in prison for literally years, and they have no clue why. They're not allowed to know. Their lawyers are not allowed to know. It's state secret. I mean, have you ever heard of such a thing? Even the guy we were talking about, the Russian, Karamurza, who got 25 years this morning in Russia. He at least knows what he's been charged and convicted with, right? In the United States, when they imprison, I mean, the United States is 25% of the prison population, right, on this planet. It's a business. It's a sick, the prison industrial complex is real. And even those people at least know why, they're in prison, even if it's bogus and they've been treated unjustly, they at least know. These guys know. It's a secret. So you've got 1,000 people under administrative detention, and again, it's renewed indefinitely. One of the people has been in prison since 1985. 1985. You've got 11 Palestinian prisoners who have been released and then are re-imprisoned. I mean, I think 11, that figure might be a bit too low because, we're talking about in administrative detention. It's actually much more than that. But I'm talking about ones that are currently, right now, this second. In total, that figure would be much higher. There's, I forgot which channel did this. It was Ad-Damir, actually. Yeah, Ad-Damir. I interviewed Ad-Damir on this channel. It's basically an organization that fights for the rights of Palestinian prisoners, and they did just basic interviews with Palestinian women, Palestinian men, and asked them about administrative detention, and it breaks families apart. It's very, very disgusting. So Na'al al-Barghouti, he's been in prison for 43 years, right? 34 of the 43 continuously, the rest in and out. 400 of the 4,000 Palestinian prisoners have been in prison for over 20 years. They've been serving over 20 years in prison. 700 of them are sick. They need medical attention. And Walid Daqqa is serving, so this is his 37th year in prison. And the idea here is not just to say a bunch of numbers. Palestinian Prisoners' Day is really like, they're just asking us to remember them. To not forget about them, because that's what Israel wants. They want to lock these guys up and throw away the key. it's really cruel. Khudr Adnan, so he's from Jenin, right, in the West Bank. He's in critical condition, and he's on hunger strike right now. And they've postponed his hearing. Even though they were going to pay the money to maybe get him released, they postponed the hearing. And this guy, remember, he's refusing to eat. He's on hunger strike because of his unjust imprisonment. And so this is a game that the Israelis play where they'll keep the prisoners who are on hunger strike, to the last second, like when they're really on a knife's edge, they're literally about to die. And then, only then will they give them medical attention. And, if you make it, good luck. And, oftentimes these guys, they have after the hunger strike, they have health problems. And it's difficult to recover. And, obviously the medical negligence, this intentional medical negligence, it's cruel. It's inhumane. Why would you leave someone on hunger strike till the last second just to get a doctor to take a look at them? It's sick. And Khudr Adnan, he's been arrested 12 times, right? He's been in prison for 8 years, and this is his 5th hunger strike. His 5th hunger strike. Damn. I mean, I shouldn't say damn. I should say, God give him strength. So he's going off of 70 days now, hunger strike. So that's over 2 months he has not eaten. 2 months, right? Over 2 months, 70 days. Walid Daqa, 31 years in prison. So I mentioned him a few moments ago. Actually, forgive me. I don't know if it's 31 or 37. I apologize for that. But I mean, the point here is the guy's been serving 3 decades. I mean, for what? For what? These are all political prisoners, Abdel Basit, also administrative detention, 10 years, still has no clue what he's been charged with. I mean, how can you put someone in jail for 10 years and not tell them why they're in jail? Who does that? No one does that. I don't know any place on earth that does this. God, it's really sick. 50 of the 4,000 Palestinian prisoners have life sentences. Okay, 120 of them are suffering. 120 of them are suffering from various wounds. I don't know if that's gunshot wounds or otherwise, but they're basically they're not well. And if a woman is giving birth, a Palestinian woman is giving birth, they will take her and chain her to the bed while she's giving birth. I mean, I've never heard of something so disgusting in my life. They chain a woman to the bed while she's giving birth. I mean, they act like Palestinian women are like serial killers who have, what is she going to do? What is she going to do with her bare hands while giving birth? This is sick. This is disgusting. I'm speechless. I don't know what to say. So, it's very unfortunate because, unfortunate, putting it mild. I mean, the situation in general is really, it's pessimistic and sad and upsetting because the NGOs, I'm not talking about Ad-Damir and the Palestinian ones. I'm speaking generally on the world stage. Amnesty International and all this. They can't really change the situation. Yes, they'll call Israel apartheid and all this stuff, but for the Palestinian prisoners, they're forgotten. No one talks about them or pleads their case. And look at the press today. They all talked about Karamurza in Russia. What about them? What about these guys? I just told you there are some of them have been in prison for 2-3 decades. Many of them have no clue why they're in prison. Jesus Christ, how can you not talk about this? How is this not front page news? Today is Palestinian Prisoners Day. Did any of these newspapers, Washington Post, New York Times, did they run front page stories about this? Of course not. Not a word. But they'll happily fund, Israel. They'll happily give Israel the money. They, meaning, the United States or Britain, which in this case, I mean, what a legacy, The United Kingdom invented administrative detention. this practice that I'm telling you about, where you just grab people off the street, put them in prison, and you don't tell them why they're in prison, and you can just do this indefinitely, and you basically you transfer. This is another war crime, by the way. These are war crimes. If that wasn't obvious, they transfer someone who's been arrested to another area, and that's forbidden under the Geneva Convention. Right? I've covered this in detail. We've gone through them. All the articles, and the other practice of trying a civilian in a military court, another war crime. This is what they do. This is administrative detention. It's martial law. It's a just straight up dictatorship, and this intentional medical negligence from the Israelis is another crime on top of everything else, on top of the unjust imprisonment, on top of the administrative detention. That you have people on hunger strike and you refuse them medical attention and wait till they're really in a dying breath till you finally transfer them to a hospital where they're of course under guard and treated like Nazis or something, or mass murderers. I mean, this is really, really disgusting behavior. And the fact that Europe and the United States snow job this and rehabilitate Israel's behavior is inexcusable and deplorable. This is injustifiable. I don't even want to hear about Russia. Why don't you start with this? Why don't you start with this, right? Why don't you clean up your own house? Why don't you stop funding this? Then we can talk about Russia and Ukraine. Let's talk about this first. This has been going on for 70 plus years. When are we dealing with this? Hypocrisy. Straight up hypocrisy. Everything that the Israelis are doing to the Palestinian prisoners is disgusting. Number one, they are showing the true nature of what Israel is, that it's an apartheid colony, because if they treated Palestinians like equals, and if this really was a democracy like they claim to be, they always give you this catchphrase, oh, we are the only democracy in the Middle East. You're funny. If that were true, these Palestinians wouldn't be in prison. 99% of them would not be in prison. Because they are a democracy as long as you're a Jewish settler. Yeah, maybe. The problem is that you can't make, a European settler colony on occupied land a democracy. That's a joke. But I just want to show you the hypocrisy. This is multiple levels of hypocrisy and criminal behavior. They don't treat the Palestinians as equals, okay? They don't treat them as they would Jewish settlers. So even under their so-called Israeli laws, the Israeli laws don't apply. Then, on what basis does Israel even have jurisdiction in the West Bank, in Jerusalem? On whose authority are you giving out and handing out sentences and arresting people? The United Nations Security Council is very clear on this issue. Multiple times have said Israel has no authority in Jerusalem, in the East Jerusalem. Jerusalem is not to be annexed. It's not for you. The West Bank is not for you. The Golan Heights are not for you. You have to leave. So on what basis are the Israelis setting up courts, these kangaroo courts, on, violating the United Nations Security Council resolutions, and then, telling people to leave their homes in Sheikh Jarrah so that Jewish settlers can move in? You don't have jurisdiction in East Jerusalem. This is illegal under international law. You're not allowed to do this. Null and void. Those are the exact words, the exact terms in the UN Security Council resolutions about Israel's annexation. Null and void. No jurisdiction, no legal basis whatsoever to arrest someone, to evict them, to give them a fucking parking ticket. None. Zero. The Geneva Convention. So the international treaties, not just the UN Security Council, the international treaties, the war crimes, forcible transfer of populations, forcible transfer of prisoners from one territory, one occupied territory to another occupied territory, trying civilians under military courts. All of these are war crimes. Whatever way you look at this, even if you are a raging, raving Zionist, you love Israel, you believe in Israel, even then, you cannot sit here and tell me that the Palestinians are being tried as equals. They're not being treated as equals in any way. This is apartheid. This is racist. This is colonialist bullshit. There is no way that you can look at the situation of the Palestinian prisoners and justify it under any in any logic, in no moral capacity, right? No legal capacity can you justify this behavior. It is appalling. And I told you, the pregnant women that are in Israeli prisons, they tie them to beds as they're giving birth. Who does this? How do you have people serving 8, 10, 20 years in prison and you don't tell them why they're in prison? I've never heard of this in my life. No country on earth does this. Never mind a democracy. Even in evil Putin, right? Russia, the evil Russia they keep talking about. Even they tell people why they're jailing them, right? Jesus, I mean, this is, and the fact the Western press have nothing to say. And today is specifically Palestinian Prisoners Day. Remember, these guys they're not numbers and statistics, man. These are people, you have entire families. Look at the videos that Ad-Damir filmed. It's just a camera on a table and they're letting people speak. You got one mother arrested with administrative detention, has no clue why she's in prison, and then she's in and out of prison, and then they take her son and then her brother, and then the whole family's been in jail and they don't even know why. Man, the audacity, the fucking nerve they have to run around the world and say, oh, we're a democracy. The goddamn nerve of these people. How dare you? Listen to me very clearly. I don't write the laws. I didn't come up with the Geneva Convention and the Hague Convention and the UN Security Council resolutions. They're done way before I was born. But they're very clear. The Palestinians have every right to resist Israeli occupation, whether they want to throw stones or whatever other means they see fit. You have no right calling them terrorists, just like the Ukrainians. You keep banging this drum about how, they not only have the right to resist the Russians, but we should give them all our money. We should give them tens of billions, hundreds of billions. That's how much, they believe in their right to resist. All of a sudden now they remember these things, right? And these words. Man, if you gave that money to Palestinians, you'd be put in a prison and called a terrorist. And the Palestinians have a lot more to complain about. They have a lot more right to plead their case for resistance because they've been suffering under this for 70 plus years. And then before that, the British. Man, oh man. Look at these double standards. Wow.